Attention.
The live broadcast you have tuned into is a pre-recorded episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. Dudes and Beer is presently traveling the vast void of time and space in an effort to find you more of the best content in the known universe. Enjoy the following transmission, and remember, if you can't be good at it. Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host. Thank you so much to everyone who has been tuning in over the last couple hundred episodes. We are on episode 209 now, and proudly sponsored and brought to you by the great base of knowledge and awesomeness that is Audible. If you are a fan of audiobooks like myself, have too much time or not enough time to sit around, read a book, turn a page anymore, but you still want to read, Audible is the thing for you. You get 2 free books for signing up, 30 days free, tons of books there, tons of categories. Go by and check it out. Absolutely free. audibletrials.com/dudes and beer is the code that will get you your free 30-day trial. Go on by, sign up, check it out. 30 days, you can cancel it. You don't lose anything. Even if you buy a book on Audible and you don't like it, you can trade it in and get another book. So go online, check that out. audibletrials.com/dudes and beer is what you want to do. Tonight, we are welcoming back our good friend and former guest, Mike Turber of 5X5News, to discuss more updates with the Mandalay Bay Massacre. Of course, it is now officially a closed case according to police, but still tons of information coming out. I know that there's, as we were just discussing off air, a new data dump coming out. Mike, welcome back to the show. How have you and the mission been since we had you on in January?
Oddly enough, really busy. Strange. What's odd in this whole situation is a year and a half later, we are still finding things. And of course, the case is closed as of, I think, August. And things keep popping up. So we're still busy. We're still treading here, and we're going to keep treading until the last bit of evidence falls. We got another data dump, like we said, coming up. We had 34 data dumps before. They ended them, I think, either January, February, somewhere around there. And here we have another one. I guess they found something on the floor somewhere. I don't know. We'll see what comes out. But
last time we had you on, you were the first person to really come out and say, "Hey, that body, the pictures of the body that they've released certainly look like that body's been moved. It certainly looks like there are 2 different pools of blood on his shirt. One of them coagulated, the other not." And as someone, let's first off familiarize our audience a little bit with your background as a security consultant, things like that, why you know this kind of information, and what you do with 5x5 News. Let's get into that real quick, just to kind of give the new listeners a breadth of what you're all about, Mike.
No problem. Basically, most of my adult life has been like 2-sided. I've had my professional outside series where I'm running businesses and stuff like this, and then I'm still called in to consult for different things under either contract with government or contract with large businesses and security companies and things of that nature. And essentially, what I've done is I've kept my skill sets up to date to where I could just I can still do things. It's like the old man can still do stuff, and that's kind of what got me into the Vegas thing. 30 some odd years ago, I went to work for someone, and while I was there, they asked me why was I there, and I said, I thought for a second, and I said, to make a difference. And that same person that interviewed me way back then called me the next morning after the shooting, and we were talking about it, and I could tell there was something going on, like, he wanted, like, there was something wrong. He just felt like there was something wrong. And he says, why don't you go over there and make a difference? And so that's what I did. It took me a couple of weeks to wrap up some things, and I took off for Vegas, and man, it's been a roller coaster ride ever since. Finding different things that the FBI hasn't found or LVMPD hasn't found. And it's, different crime scenes or things that we think which should have been a crime scene that they apparently don't. It's been a wild ride. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and
I'm actually thinking about moving.
Yeah, you were saying that off air a little while ago that you were considering moving to that area and relocating. It is a beautiful area, and for people that do work like you do, like I do, it's an amazing ride out there as far as work availability, things like that. Opportunities abound in Vegas. It is the land of dreams and opportunity, folks. That's what we're sold on the daily. And I can tell you right now, I'm in Vegas at least 2-3 times a year for work. And normally stay at the same property. Here lately it's branched out a little bit, but typically I'm at the Venetian Palazzo. That's where my gigs are. That's where I'm staying. And I'm normally there for at least a good 5 days, long enough that typically, and it's boggled my wife's mind for years how I stay in hotel rooms with my do not disturb sign up, and they don't come do what's called a well check. And that was one of the things that was brought up about Stephen Paddock for the longest time, was why wasn't there a well check done on his room? Why wasn't like housekeeping in there every 3 days? Regardless. And now it is a hard policy. And it's been a hard policy for the last year and a half. But this last time was the first time that I ever had it happen to me where they came by my room and said that they needed to walk my room.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do. That is true, and it's really something that you have to have eyes on these rooms for multiple reasons. One is for the safety of the guests. I mean, you may have a person pass away or something, all these different things. But since Paddock's situation, you have that. You had Steve Wynn, who spent $10 million hiring ex-SEAL team members and ex-this and that, people that used to do what I used to do, special intelligence. And all of these different things come in and create this incredible security net to nab people as they come in, so to speak. He has magnetons in the doors, and people don't know these things. There's revolving doors when you go into the Wynn, and that's actually a revolving metal detector is what it basically amounts to. And he has all that, but the MGM property, no, not Mandalay Bay. So, but getting someone to go into the room, that your number one key asset in security is the people. Absolutely, it's the people. It's the people watching the cameras, knowing what to look for. Until artificial intelligence gets really, really good, that you still have to rely on people, and your security is only as good as your people. And that's where Mandalay Bay failed. They failed with me over 40 times. I've gone in behind people, and they should have turned around and said, "Hey, where are you going? Who are you?"
And you can go online and check out his videos, folks. They are all over the place. Where he went straight through the back door, right up where I normally load in and have to have a work badge, things like that. Like we have to go check in with security and get a day bracelet, and they're different color bracelets every day, and they change, all that kind of stuff. That's the typical protocol whenever you go onto a property is you go check in at security, all that. Mike here just strolled in through the bottom entrance, right past employees, waved at people, how you doing? And was able to take that private employee on the elevator all the way up.
Yep. I went all the way to the 32nd floor and walked around, and I'll never forget the first one. I was amazed. Literally the first time I got on the elevator, I just went down a couple floors and came back up because I was already in my room. But then, then I started, looking around a little bit, and I said, you know what, let me do this and just see if I can do it. If I get caught, I get caught. And I just started walking. I videoed the whole thing all the way through. I walked straight through the employee entrance. The door actually opened for me, and straight over to the service elevator, up, and got to the top, and I went, wow, that was easy.
Yeah,
went down. And
because you did it a couple times before you had the news reporter come join you.
Yeah, I did it 27 times or 26 times, and I think it was the 27th time I had Laura Loomer come with me. And I was thinking, of all the people that would probably piss off knowing that she had done this, let me get Laura Loomer and bring her. So I got Laura and I said, hey, what are you doing? She says, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, you want to go for a ride in service elevator? She's like, what? I said, you want to go for a ride in service elevators? Well, hell yeah.
Could you say that in a more creepy fashion?
You want to go? That would be something new. Walking around Vegas. Service elevator.
Is that what you kids are calling it nowadays?
Yeah, that's the new slang for that. We went up and in her face when we got on there, and of course, right when we get on the elevator, me and her, this person comes out. The bank of elevators is 6 elevators, 3 across from 3. So we're in like unit, the same one that they show Paddock going up the middle elevator in his video, and right across the way, the other elevator opens up. And as we're getting on, the people, the workers are just waving to us and hey, you're like they know us. And
she's friendly as hell.
She's like a kid in a candy store. She's still smiling and laughing. She says, they just wave to us. And, nothing. There's the lack of security of me going through there. Now, the reason why this is important, a lot of people don't know, who cares? What's the big deal? Blah, blah, blah. It's either, it could be a systemic problem. It could be a bigger issue that shows or reflects on the security overall. If it's that easy for me to do what I did, going through the employee entrance, unchecked, no one sitting there, into the service elevator, up to the 32nd floor, which just had a shooting, I'm on the 30. I stayed in
technically just past a live crime scene.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in 32219. They had mentioned the service elevators, and on November 17th of the same year of the shooting, Mandalay Bay issued a statement saying that they would initiate security at all of at the elevators. They didn't do it at the service elevators, which is where he brought up I am assuming most of the guns came up through the service elevators because based on the videos, but not so much. And I even made a key. I was like, let me go up the regular guest elevators with a key that I'm going to make on my home computer, and it worked, no problem. I literally just custom that fake key. I laminated it with little business card laminators and used that and flashed it, went right on up. No problem. Yeah. Crazy.
And, it's strange. Like you said, protocols have been put into place. I had never experienced those protocols until this last time. And it was strange. Like I was telling you off air, it was strangely enough, the morning after the airing of our episode. That began a 5-day stretch of them coming by every morning at 8 a.m., knocking on my door, security.
And like, you've been Turber.
I was like, wow. I wonder if those hot links to Mandalay Bay and Vegas and all that in the episode post were possibly picked up. That's just the conspiratorial side of me that brings that into mind. It is really interesting, some of the security measures that they have in place, some of the social technology that they have in place as far as things that actively track your phone. I know I've literally walked by an establishment there in the Venetian with my wife, mentioned it by name because we were walking by, and gone like, I thought about doing an episode of Dudes and Beer live there. We left property for about 2 hours, and as we walked back by, that same restaurant and bar liked the Dudes and Beer page on Facebook. Now, I had not gone and liked their page on Facebook. I had not Googled them, nothing. I mentioned them by name as I walked by their location.
It happens 2 ways. You know what's so funny is MGM will actually, on the back of your key receipt, I believe it is, it tells you that the key and or the player's card and or your cell phone can be utilized as a tracking device.
Yeah.
While you're on property. It basically just tells you they're going to track you so they can, of course, they're going to tell you so they can better serve you. So if they see so much traffic going a certain direction, they'll make certain slot machines go that way, or more drinks come that way, all these different things.
Well, a lot of it is. Yeah, I mean, even the show I'm working now, I see it more and more at shows. There are companies that specialize in it. They have every badge that's printed out as an RFID. And
absolutely.
As you walk through the room, it scans you in. It maps traffic flow so they can tell like where they need to split exhibits to, where maybe they should put some exhibits so that they get more action, that kind of stuff. It's really like in that way, it's absolutely amazing to the industry. In other ways, it's absolutely creep sauce.
Yeah. Well, they've been doing it for years with the cell towers. So we're kind of used to driving around in the cell towers. It's just all they've done is basically miniaturized a similar version of the technology as at the simplest terms, and doing it with Wi-Fi. So as you move around, and Wi-Fi's range is normally anywhere from maybe 100 to 300 feet. And as you move from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, it tracks you that way. But they can pinpoint you down to actually within a meter, so 1 foot or a 3 foot circle. They can basically pinpoint you down to that. So yeah, it's pretty accurate. I've worked with different systems that do that. We can actually see inside your home, oddly enough, with just the Wi-Fi signal, with nothing on your person at all.
It's
the
called echolocation.
Pretty much, yeah. As you move around through any media, you're going to cause, media being air, water, what have you.
Right.
As you move around, you cause a disturbance, and that is going to cause a differentiation in the radio signals, and that can be picked up. So you can be outside.
It may not be high def enough to see your face, but they can definitely tell there's a person moving in that room.
Yep, and they can even tell if that person's holding a object, weapon, or something that's a broom was going to look different than a firearm to your eye. It won't. You're not going to be able to tell much of a difference because at night when somebody's walking around. But these signals can bounce off of these things so well that you can actually tell it from a broom, from a firearm, from a rifles, and so forth. So that's pretty interesting technology that not many people know about.
Yeah, and it's gotten more and more interesting. One of my favorite guests that I have on the show regularly is Dr. John Hall, and he actually talks a lot. He speaks internationally and has written a couple of books on the topic of electronic harassment. People who've been specifically targeted by, be it government entities, individuals, companies, what have you. People like our good embassy workers in Cuba and China. That kind of thing. And it's interesting to hear people say like, oh, that's the stuff of conspiracy theory, when all of 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was literally just before we had Dr. John Hall on last time. I want to say it was like the day before, because we spoke about the article on the episode, where Defense One released the fact that they can now shoot a focused laser beam at your skull. And you will hear a message.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
basically resonating your skull with light to where you hear a message.
Yeah, with light you can hear a message, and they also can transmit through the lights inside of a building. Yeah. There's a Wi-Fi signal that they can actually do, and you won't see it because it's flickering so fast, but they can actually do Wi-Fi using lighting, which is pretty amazing. I mean, the technology, when you look at the information technology graph, and you see, or any graph that looks at technology and see it back from, say, the year 1000, 1100, and you just see like this little flat line. But as it gets towards 1800s and 1900s, it's just rocket straight up. After 1950, that line is just vertical. It's just you can't even tell it's going anywhere. It's just
and I mean, a lot of people don't realize the fact that your whole home wiring system can absolutely be used as an electric bug. Think about the guitar, the pickups in a guitar, folks. It's just a bunch of copper wire wound around stuff. As long as you got a bunch of copper wire around you, they can absolutely induct that signal and boost it.
Sure.
And it's just amazing the technologies that is out there. It's amazing the technology that is implemented in these properties in Vegas. And that's one of the reasons I love having you on, Mike, is because you have a background in this stuff. It's not the fact that I'm talking with a doctor who's a doctor, folks. He's not a doctor. He spent many years in school to attain a doctorate. And he's an actual doctor. And like his lawyer told him, you're a crazy person. They're going to disbar you whenever you put out this book on electronic harassment. He's like, they're going to remove your medical license. You know that, right? They're going to think you're a crackpot. And it's been wild, his ride.
There's so many things that are done. I mean, keep in mind, and I'll use some old terminology, not the current terminology, but there's an elite group of hackers that is employed inside of the United States, and it's employed through NSA.
Beto O'Rourke was one of them.
Mm-hmm, yep. That group, no problem. That group used to be called TAO, which is Tailored Access Operations, and the TAO group is, it's a larger group than people realized back then, because they were thought it was 50, 60 people. It was around 600 or so, but that they could get into anything, anywhere, at any time. And what people don't realize is that as electronics are shipped around the world, they would intercept these electronics. They would have teams in Kentucky, at Louisville, Kentucky, at the UPS center or FedEx's center, any overnight shipments or whatever, and they would intercept these packages and drop in software and hardware before people would even get the package, and they'd order it next day air. And they still are able to get it. It's amazing. The technology, and that's from 10 years ago. That you can imagine.
Yeah, that was from 2013. 2013. I've got it right here. And folks, if you want to know, that's from PCWorld.com. Report. And this is the headline. Report. NSA intercepts computer deliveries to plant spyware. And then it's in USA Today. It's in Ars Technica. It's in The Verge. It's on The Atlantic, The Intercept. These are not bogus news websites, folks.
But here's a funny one for you. Look up while you're doing that. Look up NSA San Antonio and garage doors, and you'll get a kick out of it. That happened, and it's similar to the ILS system problem that happened many years ago when the planes would land. They, to turn on the some of the systems at some of the airports, you just squawk your radio. You click your mic 3 times, turn the lights on, click it again, like clap on, clap off. Yeah. So these systems were operating on a frequency that's similar to the garage door openers. Well, they did it again with the new building that they bought, which used to be a Sony chip manufacturing plant in San Antonio, and they converted it to an NSA building and data center and what have you. But when they did, I think during the construction phase or the whatever, they actually had something that created a signal. I can't tell you what it was, but they had something that created a signal that caused the garage doors to open up and down. And of course, you see the news crew over there doing that, and they're, everybody's like, "What are they doing?" Not realizing that it's these guys doing it.
Yeah. Well, no, and just so you know, this one's real, folks. If you Google NSA San Antonio garage doors, one of the first things that pops up is from sanantoniohams.org. And I'm here to tell you, folks, as a proper nerd, if you don't have at least one friend that is a ham radio operator, you need to make one. People that will know what's going down when it goes down will be the ham radio operators. They will be the only people with any means of communication when it all goes down. Those are the dudes with battery backup, solar backup at home. They've got 8-9 bands of emergency radio. You want to know a ham radio operator. Trust me.
When the fecal matter impacts upon the rotary oscillator, that's the person you want.
That's right. That's right. But here it is, like on the San Antonio ham operators blog, sanantoniohams.org, NSA keeps garage door opener from opening. And it starts going into the frequencies that they're using it, and that's why I love a ham radio operator, because they're like, you know what we need? We need about 10 of us dialing into this frequency so that we can actually triangulate it and find out exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah,
because believe it or not, the location of the NSA data center is not a secret. They had to appropriate land for it to exist. So
yeah.
But
Bluffdale is the big one. Bluffdale is going to be the monster. You know what's so funny about the Fort Meade? When Fort Meade has D-Wave computers, which is their artificial intelligence / the next generation computing, quantum computing is what it amounts to. And they have Titan and Super Titan, which is the supercomputers there. And they actually would have to call and basically tell Baltimore that we're turning on Titan or Super Titan, and so they would know, because they would cause brownouts. I mean, it's the number one electrical drawing customer in that area, and it creates issues around there. It did, really did. If you got to call somebody to tell them you're going to turn on something, that means that thing takes a lot.
Yeah, it's going to take up a little bit of juice. And, like I said a minute ago, I love having people like you on the show to explain this stuff to our audience, and to go into it, at least my theory anyway. Right now, there are so many theories out there about Stephen Paddock. Whenever I told people today that I was going to have you back on, man, the conversations just started from across the room.
There you go.
About like, why are they saying that there were gunshots coming from this floor, but people are reporting them from that floor over there. There was a crossfire. People were shooting from multiple angles. And I laid down my hypothesis. I've gotten away from the idea of something being a theory. I try to go by scientific method as much as possible in life. I look at everything as dispassionately as possible, as just a point of datum. Here's my working hypothesis. Feel free to poke holes in it, because that's how we come up with a theory. And once we can prove the hypothesis to theory, that's how it becomes a law. That's how we define gravity. Gravity is a law. We can mathematically prove it exists. We still can't quite prove the evolution of man from ape, so that's still a theory. It's well beyond hypothesis, but it's not yet a law, because there's still a few bones missing. So my whole hypothesis with the shooting, just to lay down my 2 cents for my audience, and we went into a little bit last time, but my hypothesis is that Stephen Paddock, having been an accountant for Lockheed Martin, having security clearances with them for doing that, was more than likely privy to some information that was going on with either secret projects or other projects going on at Area 51. We know that there were shots fired in the way of McCarran Airport, which is directly across from Mandalay Bay. Right across from the fuel tanks he fired at is where the Janet airplanes, the unmarked white planes with a red stripe, blacked out windows that take people from Las Vegas to Area 51. When he couldn't hit a plane or make the tank explode, he just went off. He just lost it at that point. Mission unaccomplished, but he found something out that he knew that if he just went out and said something, it would just be caught up in the system. But if he did something, at least maybe people would find the trail. That's my working hypothesis, amongst things. Just given the data at hand. Now, granted, you have been privy to a lot more data, and you have had quite the experience going through all of this and combing through not only the information put out by the media, the information I just laid out, but seeing other things there on the ground, like you said earlier, that should have possibly at least been investigated as a crime scene.
Absolutely.
Or at least a point of impact and related to the crime scene, if anything. And then also had the opportunity to talk to family of the shooter, talk to other people involved who have been put under gag order, things like that. And share, if you can, kind of break down the breakdown of communication, number one, from the sheriff's office and what we've been able to find out, and not only what we've been able to find out as a public, but what you as an investigator with people like Ramsey and other folks in the background have been able to piece together talking with family members and the like.
Yeah, there's quite a bit that actually comes together. You start to get a fuller picture. I mean, I'm probably like the least known investigative reporter that has done all this other stuff, to the point where some people go, how does he keep getting this stuff? But the one thing is just trying to put the dots together to make a full picture, to where my goal when I first went there was strictly get information and or evidence that supports the victims. That's it. You know, I'm not there to support MGM, corporate, LVMPD, nothing like that. The victims needed answers. It was clear that they weren't getting them. And so that started the process. And the very first thing I did was come up with the CCTV video, because no one had any video, security footage video anywhere at all. And they didn't release it for God knows how many months. So I ended up with that was aired on Fox. And that footage led me to think of quite a few things. I'm watching this play out, and I have the footage from the next day, which I'm actually going to release probably later tonight, of what happened before and after the event. And there's nothing happened. There's that whole scene where in this, the Melissa Ramirez video that I'm referring to, in the parking lot video that some people call it, that there was no crime scene. There's no one took pictures. No one did nothing.
They just got people out of there and did nothing.
Yeah, they just got out of there. Yeah, and you would think that they would at least tape it off and have someone come in the next day, because people see this as a crime of opportunity too. Something happens and you got to verify all this stuff, and it is a murder scene. You have to do it that way, but they didn't do it at all. So that to me still rubs me wrong to this day. And I think it rubs a lot of people wrong when they actually see it and they realize what they're watching. So you have that, and then piecing all these things together, you know, with Eric Paddock, when the 3-page report came out, you know, that the incredibly well thought out, massive amount of data that we were given on 3 pages, or actually it's 2.5 pages, that rubbed a lot of people wrong. And I'll explain to it somewhat why it was done that way as a summary. Else. And I'm definitely not on the side of the FBI. Don't get me wrong in this explanation, but we have to remember that the FBI was operating in a supportive role. They were not lead. LVMPD was lead, and so forth like that. And Eric told me something that really just reminded me of what I was reading. As I'm normally pretty good at reading things and, you know, understanding what I'm reading. And he reminded me, says, now remember, you're reading the Las Vegas review panel, which means they're reviewing something. So they were just given that information to review. Eric was never interviewed by them at all. There was no communication other than his 15 hours or so of interrogation, whatever you want to call it, with the FBI and LVMPD. I think he was called and asked a question or two from some other agent, and that's it. You would think that of all the people that would know Stephen, it would be Eric, because he had the most contact with Stephen out of all of the family, and other than obviously Brother Danley. But that situation makes me wonder, and I know Eric's got to be, you know, pondering the same thing. We talk quite a bit, and you know, how could you possibly review anything without going back to some of the key persons and talking to them to try to get a better, more focused opinion and or hypothesis and everything, and piece all this together to come up with the motive that everyone is looking for, because what they put together was very contradictory. So I think they had
I don't personally buy the fact, and I've got many friends that I speak with that are like, oh, you know, he lost tons of money to casinos. It's like, and he still had tons of money. Like,
yep.
Like just before he did that, like he like sent, what was it, a couple $100,000 to his lady in the Philippines, you know?
Yeah, sent her
while she was there.
And then, yep, and he gambled. The last day was $860,000 that he gambled just that day. Of course, you know, that wasn't the money he pulled out of his pocket. You know, if you put $10,000 in a machine and you play it all day, it keeps calculating the same $10,000 as you bet.
Yeah.
So it seems like more, but you know, he had a $33,000 ticket in the room, so that was the net or what he took. So
and
exactly. 1.6 million. Yeah. You know, so it makes sense that that's part of it, and I think they kind of got it right. The BAU kind of got the situation right. They didn't really nail it down as a motive. They never really said the motive is blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But it's a mix. It's just like any crime where people don't do things because of a specific reason. Sometimes there's more than one thing causing it. He did his flight physical for the FAA, and he basically failed, and the doctor told the FAA to pull his license, and they pulled his license. He couldn't fly. That was his main passion. That was the thing he loved to do.
That's tough. That's tough. I know many people that are pilots, and the day that they wouldn't be able to fly, it'd be kind of like me the day I could no longer run a cable. It's how you define yourself, you know,
exactly.
whether you do it for profit or not.
You got a 2-year-old that can run that cable for you. I
do. He is well trained. Mm-hmm. By the time he's 5, I'll have him invoicing, so we'll be all set then.
There you go. Oh, God. So we have that. We have the obvious. He's lost a lot of money. His net worth had gone down, you know, quite a bit, and you know, I think to the tune of 500 and some odd thousand is what the number came up to towards the end. But then they had the houses. He's got the 2 houses. Both are sold now. I think one definitely sold, and the other one, I think they either just got a bid on it or it's sold. Yeah. So that's new information, just so people can have that. But the whole report is, it's like they have 10 things on this summary, and it's like they picked 10, like the top 10 reasons why he did this. You know, when they could have done it in 3, but it's, I don't know. It's very disheartening to read and then to understand the frustration, because people see Sandy Hook and they see the reports from other things, and it's 1,500 pages or 2,200 pages, 3,000 pages, so forth, and this thing's that. One thing I can say is that a very good friend of mine, her name's Michelle. A lot of us did a FOIA request to get information. Once the BAU report came out, we knew that was our clue or our cue to contact them to get some more information. So her FOIA request got approved. So we're going to get that in. It's going to be 28 CDs of roughly about 500 pages per CD. So we're looking around 14,000 or so documents that we'll have in our hands, hopefully, before long. Yeah. So that'll be good. And as far as I know, we're the only ones that'll have it. So that's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a lot to go through. Yeah, we thought the 2,200 or 2,300 pages that were in the FIT report were going to be quite a bit to go through, but this is going to be a mountain to go through. Plus, you have a lot of the times when I'm looking at these reports, I want to read the notes that the agent took at the time that they were thinking those thoughts. Because a lot of times people, and some people are very articulate, and some people are not so much, but you can tell where they're going with it because it shows their feelings at the time. Because when you're writing notes, you put down your feelings, but when you put it in the report, you have to take that back out. So I love reading the notes.
Yeah. You've definitely got to comb through, and like we were saying, you know, there's a difference to how you're processing it then and how you process the data that comes out of it later. And whenever you're looking at it as a point of data, that's like we were saying earlier, you have to take that dispassionately. You can't look at necessarily your gut reaction as you're going through actual evidence. Because at that point you're looking at pure data.
Yeah, and speaking of data, the very frustrating part that everyone, myself included, when you look at all the 34 data dumps that they did, there is no data or video or audio or anything from room 134. Nothing. There's nothing from it. How does that happen? and they are court ordered to show everything. So why is it now we're going to have another data dump that's going to come out, and they're saying that this is the last one. So I have no clue how big it's going to be, but it'll be this Wednesday. So it's going to come out, and it'll be disseminated pretty quick. We got teams of researchers out there that do this stuff. I'm a one-man band. I don't have teams or any researchers working.
I mean, prime example is the fact that the last data dump is when your hypothesis that the body had been moved was confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. It took over a year.
There's no question about it now. Before the coroner came and examined, before the medical examiner, not the coroner, sorry, medical examiner is the one that technically shows up on site, folks. Coroner sitting in an office.
Exactly.
But before the medical examiners came, they actively moved the body to take their pictures.
Actually, what happened on this one was even more bizarre. With what happened, the officer was left in charge of the scene was Matchko. So Matchko was in charge of the scene. He had a couple other guys there, and they were running around, and they were under orders to find anything that would show the possible location of other shooters, if there are other shooters. Because at the time, you can even hear on the radio when you're looking at their body, the BWCs, you can hear them talk about shootings at, New York, Bellagio, so forth. And we know that didn't happen now, but at the time, and this happens all the time. It's not new, but it's new for anyone that was in that area and had never experienced this before, that you have these, what seems to be shootings going on all over the place. And so the police have to respond to it. And so in that moment of excitement, they were looking all over the place. So they went to Paddock to get his ID and so forth. But this is, of course, at the time they didn't know it was the largest mass shooting in U.S. history, but they knew it was bad. But they went to get his ID, and they essentially fully rolled him over. But here's what actually happened. There's been a lot of talk, and now this is my hypothesis. It's my opinion, what I'm about to say, but it's based on me really delving into this because I've already been verified on Vindicator 1, and I hope I'm vindicated on what I'm about to say.
Years of experience as a security advisor and doing what you do also.
Exactly. So here's what I'm reading between the lines when I'm reading what Matchko is saying. He lifted up the body, and that is when the blood came out of Paddock's mouth, which indicates to me that when Levi Hancock came through the door first and went past the body and yelled hands and maybe he kicked the revolver away at that moment. There was no blood on the face, not like what we saw. So when Matchko lifted up the body, he had to have lifted up the body from behind and he probably held the wrist. You know how you reach somebody around somebody like the Heimlich maneuver kind of thing, sure. And that would explain the blood on the wrists. It would explain the blood on the chest because of the blood coming back out of the mouth. And the blood, the reason why I say it's at that time is because it's the same color as the other blood that bled out on the mouth. So the mouth blood and the blood on the chest bled at the same time, which tells me it's probably the same source. And same thing with the wrist. But I don't have an accurate enough picture to say definitively the wrist blood was the same. So people are questioning, why is there blood on the wrist? They think it's from ligature marks or what have you. And they question the gloves. The gloves are the same gloves he always wears. Eric has told me this repeatedly that he buys those gloves by the 10-pack. I think at Home Depot is where he gets them, or got them. And he wore those things almost religiously. But all these conspiracies that come out of they'll see blood on the wrist. You'll see blood on the earlobe thing that they're detached or not detached. It's not Paddock laying there. We've got a private investigator that he goes by the moniker Paladin, and he believes all kinds of different things, which make me wonder some other things about it being a private investigator. But they think that Paddock was killed the day before, brought to the room, and someone else did all the shooting. All of these different things, and the amount of work necessary to pull that off is beyond astronomical. But you look at these things and you wonder, is there something more going on here? Why is it things have to? It's like we outside. And here I am. I don't have access to any of the evidence, and I'm only going by pictures, and I'm only going by what the officers are saying, and we're coming up with answers. We're coming up with answers that are not in the FIT report. They're not being explained, and that's what people want to know. And hopefully the 14 or 15,000, if that's the estimated number of pages that we're going to get, will have those answers. And I got to definitely thank Michelle for thinking of, and us getting together and getting that done. I mean, it's just really going to be cool. And I hope that it adds more closure for those that really need it. Because there's a ton of people that really want to know what happened.
Well, not just that, but the family also, people like Eric. And it's great that people like you and Ramsey have reached out to him and really taken him to heart. And heard his side of things and taken time to talk with the family. So many times when the news or investigators are there, they're just there for that.
Exactly.
And they don't take time on the backside.
Yeah, Eric reached out to me, which kind of flipped the coin a little bit. I was reaching out to him to verify some information on Rodney Peterson to see if we could narrow down the time frame, if he was actually playing, blackjack with Paddock at the Excalibur on July 6th of 2016, so forth. And so you have that playing out. And then, when Eric reached out to me and says, hey, we talked for God knows hours and hours. And then he said that, he wants to utilize me as like the spokesperson or the this or that, whatever term you want to put on it. I sat there and wondered, is this something I want to do? Because I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but after talking with him, I understand a lot more than I would have if I didn't. I can say that he has definitely opened up a lot of areas that were gray, some questions that I had, and made it really clear. And some areas we weren't able to do that. But for the most part, my relationship with him has been actually pleasant. It's because people remember him from the CBS interview that he did, and right after that, and of course he had all kinds of thoughts going through his mind. Just lost his brother, and now he's being told his brother did all this stuff, and oh my God, what's going on? But we did the interview with him when the BAU report came out, and his insight on the BAU report is very, very spot on. Amazingly so. So, if people get a chance, take a look, because it's the only interview he's done. He has not done any interviews this year, and it's been pretty interesting.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what's so telling about you and Ramsey, is the fact that a lot of people don't understand what it actually means to get the exclusive on something like that. And for y'all not to be just trying to like monetize that out of the gate to literally just, and believe me, folks, if you have an exclusive interview like that, people want even snippets of an interview like that. They will pay good money for 30 seconds of Eric Paddock talking about his brother. They will pay good money for that. The fact that you guys have held that back, that you guys aren't abusing that, I think really, really tells the story of why y'all have skin in this game. It truly is for the people that even we mutually know who've been affected by this, the people that were there when things happened at the shooting, the families of the survivors and the families of Stephen himself.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times it's been, where I've been in Vegas, somebody walks up to me and says, "Are you Mike Turber?" I say, "Yes." And they say, "Can you please tell me what happened?" And that starts off an amazing hour or two or however long. I'll talk until they tell me to shut up. But letting them know, because they have so many things that they hear, and they just want to know what really, really happened. And then when I say that, then of course the other side will say, well, he's disinfo, or he's FBI, or X this or X that or whatever. And guys, I don't know how I can explain it any different. I'm not monetized. I have nothing's, I don't make any money doing this. I've lost 26 probably grand doing it. But, when you look at it, the thing is that you have this feeling that you get when you look at someone in their face. And I always tell people when they tell me all these other theories, I said, have you been there? Have you talked to people? Have you looked them right in their eyes and had to tell them what happened or have them tell you what happened? And the answer is often obviously no, but you get that feeling that you have this. It's like me and of course Melissa Ramirez. She's gone, but I still have this attachment for some reason. It's kind of odd, but it's there, and I can't explain it. And with the other families and the different and the survivors like Shannon and Andrea and CL and all these people that were there, even Michelle, she was there. It's each person has their own experience, and they experienced it from their angle, so to speak, in their perspective, and they have a story to tell. But at the same time, they want answers, and that's what they never got, and that created this. This is the most bizarre. The shooting itself being the largest in U.S. history and what have you is one thing, but the investigation in this thing, maybe it's because it's Las Vegas or because it's just you expect to cover up there because of the casinos and so forth.
Well, it's definitely, and that's something that I said in the first episode with Ramsey was it's definitely because even like living in Austin with South by Southwest, when did you hear about the South by Southwest bomber last year?
God.
Because it made national news 2 days after South by was over.
Yeah, it was about
and because be damned if we're going to keep people from coming to South by Southwest.
Yes.
Vegas is the town that forgets on purpose. The faster we can get back to business as a status quo. And I mean, even more developments that have happened since last we spoke. MGM has dropped their lawsuit.
Right.
At one point, they were actively, preemptively suing the survivors to just say, we weren't responsible for this one dude's actions, so you can't come sue us. They've dropped that lawsuit.
Yeah, they did. And they're in the middle of mediation now. I think the first mediation was on February 19th, and they're still, chit-chatting, going back and forth and what have you. You're trying to nail down all kinds of particulars. Could you imagine the amount of work that would be necessary to just determine how much this person gets or that person gets or what have you, and how do you make it fair? I mean, it's not going to be fair. There's going to be lawsuits because of the lawsuits, so
sure.
It's got to be a daunting task. Absolutely. I mean, I see the lawyers, I see some of the things they go through and what have you, and it's changed a couple of their lives, obviously, and they're never going to be the same. Never.
Yeah, and I mean, quite honestly, I don't even live in Vegas, but the Mandalay Bay shooting has touched my life. Through people that I know that were there, through people that I know who I'm on show site right now with here in San Antonio, that we're at the show going on at Mandalay Bay. The company I'm here with had a show going on property at Mandalay Bay. One guy doesn't travel without a bulletproof insert in his backpack. He's like, I won't go anywhere without it now. He was like, when I was going back to the hotel and I saw police officers that were scared telling me to go back inside. He was like, when you see SWAT officers that are scared, they're like something special's going on. Most of those dudes are pretty active vets. They've seen some fighting before. They've seen that kind of stuff. And when you see them scared and panicked and saying go back inside now, he was like, that was the most frightening experience of my life, was seeing that police officer scared. This man whose job it was to deal with that.
Exactly, and they're supposed to instill calm in the situation, what have you. But at the same time, they're human. They probably feel that they are the true targets, not realizing that may not be the case. But a lot of times when people draw a fire, they want to bring in as many officers and first responders and what have you, and you start shooting them. And it's just in your mind, you're thinking, this is just terrible to even think that way. But that's apparently, most of the time that's how that happens. And they're pinned down. You can see them in the body-worn camera footage, pinned down behind their cars, behind the walls, and what have you. A lot of those videos show, what's going on. And the officers are yelling at people to get down. And some people are just walking oblivious to the world. They got beer in their hand. They're shooting birds. Everybody responds to these things differently. And there's, I've been in similar situations, and you see, it's like everything goes into slow motion when you think back on it, and then you remember this guy was in that girl was doing this, and that this person went under the table, this person went this direction, and you're like, and what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that split second, means the difference between life and death for a lot of people. And it does. I'll never forget when I first pulled together the clips that made the CCTV video, the parking lot video, the Melissa Ramirez video, and I was able to see everything as a motion, because it was a stop motion camera. It was, if not stop motion, but it was a motion control camera. If there's motion, it filmed. If motion stops, it stopped. And so it was a bunch of clips I had to put together to make it work. And my jaw just hit the floor when I just realized what I had pieced together and what I was watching. There was hundreds of people just in absolute fear and panic, and not knowing where to go, what to do. And, and you jumping over the walls going into McCarran Airport, running, all these different things. And you try to put your while you're watching them, you try to think of that particular individual you're looking at. What are they thinking? The woman standing there with the cell phone trying to direct people around. What is she thinking? And all these different things. And then poor Brian and Hector with Melissa laying there. Oh my God, I could just imagine.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
Well, it's good people like you. It's good people like Ramsey. Great folks like Shannon and his wife, who were active in the survivors movement there in Vegas, that are helping bringing this stuff to light. Trying to, and we know, like you were saying before the show started, case is technically closed, according to any criminal investigation, but it's still open on many fronts. We're still, go ahead.
Yeah, we're still learning things, and this will probably go on for even a little while longer, because there's a lot of stuff coming out, and of course people will read these reports and the data that out of the 14,000 or so pages that we get and put out there, and who knows what's going to come out of this. We know there's cover-ups. It's there. We've already uncovered legitimate 100% cover-ups. So we know that those have already occurred. So we might uncover some more, and who knows what it's going to be. Because this is absolutely the most bizarre case I have ever been a part of in any way, shape, or form, period. It's just every time I turn around, it's something new and different, and it's odd. People are responding to things differently here in us, and the whole thing with Sheriff Lombardo and the leaked pictures. I mean, it's like a movie playing out. Yeah.
Well, and it's strange. And I've used the word slipshot before. I think it's really more quick to the draw than slipshot, as far as, I think, closing the case full on and just saying done. I really don't think that we have a whole lot of answers. And I like you said, since the case has been closed, this is coming up on the third data dump, and it's going to be the biggest one out of all of them. Right. So what about all this information?
I'm dying to find out what it's going to be. I'm hoping it's got the 134 answers, because that seems to be the biggest hole that we have, is what happened in 134 after the breach, what's going on. And then we have the 3-round burst from O'Donnell, and we have, Levi running around with his camera turned off, and then Levi coming back Levi's the one that took the pictures. I mean, all the evidence leans towards that, and Sheriff Lombardo can't seem to figure out who took the pictures. You know, come on, they can figure out out of everything else. Paddock did this, and they could do all of these answers of all the questions supposedly we wanted, but they can't find out who leaked the images. And
nobody's device has a timestamp on it.
And what's weird,
when we use a fun saver, we go to like Eckerd Drugs to have the film developed. Is that what happened?
Uh-huh.
Like,
and that must have been. They have no exit data.
1 hour photo.
Uh-huh. Here's what's bizarre. I think someone either in LVMPD or the people that were doing the videos that were actually putting the videos to disk or to the chips and dispersing it. I think someone in there was, I hope they hear me. They were trying to send us a message. And the reason why I say that is one of the videos, one of the body-worn cameras, I think Ann brought this to my attention. I know Ann has brought lots to my attention. But brought this to my attention. I looked at it and I noticed that out of all of the body-worn camera footage that they would fuzz out, redact, so to speak, the screens of these things. So when the officers are typing text messages and stuff like this, we couldn't read them. But this one video, we could read everything, and almost clear as day. And then the next video comes out with them sharing the pictures and everything, and we could read those too. So this happened after, in the beginning, the data dumps were really slow to, we weren't getting a whole lot out, and we knew it was going to be like 10 years before they could get everything out at that rate. And then all of a sudden it sped up, and that was because I think they moved it to an outside source. And that's when it seems like the person sitting there, putting the little fuzzy dot on the screen, covering up stuff, pulled it a little bit to the side so we could read it. And I think that was actually done on purpose. So to the individual who did that, if you did in fact do that, please contact me. Yes. Hopefully your job wouldn't be in jeopardy or whatever. But I would really like to see if my thoughts are correct on that, because it did seem like you're trying to send us a message, and I'd love to know what that message is. I've got some ideas, but I would love to talk to you.
And it's information like that. Whenever you hear that kind of stuff, and the fact that the timeline shifted constantly as information came out. It like we've said since the beginning of this episode, folks, it's strange upon strange. The things that have come out, the things that have, the vindication of Mike and his saying, I think the body was moved at some point or touched. And then that coming out in the last report, it's really interesting to me how we have cases like DB Cooper that were open for like 35 years, and that dude stole like $100,000 of federally insured money.
Yeah.
But we kept that case open for 35 years, and this one, within a year and a half, is closed and shut with next to no actual information.
Right. No motive. The key things you look for the things that you have to close the book on an investigation is the motive and, a couple other things. But the motive is obviously the number one thing that everyone wants to know. Why did he do this?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And we don't really know. I mean, Eric and I talked for a long time, and we both are on the exact same path. I mean, it wasn't he didn't influence me, I didn't influence him. We both just blurted out the same things. And so, and it's a combination of things and what have you. So when you have this 25-member team, do this, and they do all this research, and they come out with this 3-page report, there should have been a buffer there. Someone should have come out and said, hey, or Aaron should have come out and said, Aaron Rouse should have come out and said, I know I said that there's going to be this or that, or alluded to a Herculean investigation, obviously would require a Herculean report, right?
Sure.
And we get to 3. Somebody should have buffered us, softened that blow before that came out, because I must have the same PR person that works at Mandalay Bay, because she obviously dropped the ball when she was big. So it must be the same PR girl says, okay, let's just blast them with this 2.5-page report and see what that does. it's just like they're playing with us. They're playing with the victims. They're playing, with everyone, and even the reporters. And what's weird is some of the reporters accepted it. Like, oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, okay, 3 pages. Yeah, I can work with that. I'm thinking, no way. There's so much more.
And even to this day, the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department is still under active indictment for suppression of information. Still under active civil lawsuit by numerous news agencies for suppressing public information in the case.
I'm wondering if this dump is them saying, okay, we see the writing on the wall. We know you guys are still looking for it. Here's some more. But keep in mind, too, this was Lombardo, and this is where me and Ramsey really look at each other and go, okay, Lombardo is absolutely manipulating how the information is being disseminated because he is being elected. So if we go back in time and we look at of the 34 releases, you can see that he pick and chose which pieces of information came out because the situation where the officer freezing, that was a clear cover-up. O'Donnell and his 3-round burst, that was a clear cover-up. Because they I heard it on the radio, but they just walked over it. And I was like, well, maybe something didn't happen. They never got back to it. And sure enough, it was. So, and that was orchestrated because of the election. There is no doubt in my mind. And he swears no, but he's lying through his teeth. There's just no way around it. And he lied to me.
Quite honestly surprised me the fact that it didn't hugely surprise me, the fact that he re-won election, because, he's an incumbent sheriff. It's kind of like being a sitting judge. Once you're there, like, people don't remember who you are. They may remember a name, and they just vote names they remember, just vote a party or color. That's it. Like, I don't even remember what party I am, but I know it's blue. We got blue on this thing.
It's like when you're in, you're in. Once you make the decision to move into politics, and politics plays out through all the different levels. Like you don't think politics plays out in law enforcement, but clearly it does. Because that's where a lot of the money goes.
And it is very interesting, the fact that most people don't realize that their local police department is unionized and contracted by the city, and that the police chief is appointed into office, while your sheriff actively runs for office and is really the only one actively sworn to protect your constitutional rights. The public police are not – they are there to enforce the law. That's it. Rights be damned, we will enforce the law. The sheriffs are technically the only ones that take a promise out saying we will keep the constitutional rights of people first and foremost. So it's interesting that, to me anyway, that those are the ones that are actively elected into office.
Right.
Because
exactly.
They're the ones with the most vested interest. Not to, as politicians, not to protect your constitutional right.
Exactly, because they need to make more. They need to make more laws. They need to, that's how they stay busy. There's like so many laws, especially like when it comes to firearms. There's so many laws in the books for firearms, and they want to make more. Okay, fine, you want to make more, but make them different. We'll just enforce the ones we have. What's wrong with that? But no, that's how they stay busy. That's how they make their money, and they grease palms, right?
And we say this tongue in cheek, but it is actually one of the horrifying facts of law enforcement in America, folks. Police, much like the people that rush into fires to pull our dumbasses out. Much like the people that you call 911 to come help you whenever you aren't breathing right, or the people that educate our children. These are the most underpaid people in our society, and it's kind of horrifying to know that these are the people that are supposed to be out there wanting to take a bullet for us. To know that these are the people that we're supposed to ask to investigate themselves and keep the investigation right. You know.
Right. Have you seen how much these LVMPD officers make?
Oh, I'm sure it's right up around a starting teacher's salary. It's got to be about 28. It can't be anything incredible.
You might want to look that one up.
Oh yeah, is it bigger? Wait, hold on. Let's go prices right. Let's go prices right. Higher or lower, Bob?
Way higher.
Okay. Higher. Then I'm going to go 42. 42.
Higher.
Higher. Wow.
Higher.
Wow. 61.
Higher.
72.50.
Higher.
Whoa! Are you joking? This is a starting salary in the LV.
This is how much they make. When you look at it, you take everything into consideration. When they get their different pay, they get the off duty kind of pay whenever they're doing the security work,
security details, stuff like that. Yeah, visiting dignitaries and the like.
Yeah, actually, in the background, if you look while we're talking, look up average pay for a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officer, and you will. I want to love to see your eyes on that popped up, and you'll be amazed. They're hitting $250,000, 300,000, in that range. Most of them are over 100,000 easily, but they're hitting $250,000, and it blows your mind. It's probably one of the highest paid.
Whoa! Average base pay $89,000.
There you go.
And that's on Glassdoor.com. That's pretty rep. That's crazy sauce. That's crazy.
Yeah. And if you look at the officers that have been there, have a little bit of tenure, like a Levi Hancock or like a Bitsko, some of these guys, and these guys are raking in 200, 150, 200 grand. Yeah. I mean, they're raking it in, bro. But that's one thing that doesn't bother me that much. When I think the firefighters should obviously be paid more because that's a volunteer type service in most cases. And these guys are putting their lives literally on the line continuously. And I know the officers are doing the same thing, but I think there should be more of a balance there. And then the teachers as well, because the teachers are who formulate the minds of the people who will eventually either do these crimes or not do these crimes. And the influence that some of these teachers have on kids, they don't realize how impactful that a teacher's influence on children, especially in the formative years, will be. They need to be paid more money, period. So we can keep quality people in there.
People who actively give a damn. Because that's what we need. We need people who want to bring up right minds. We need people who want to bring up kids that, like we were saying earlier, are filtering information properly, are being taught proper scientific method. Believe it or not, folks, that stuff applies to everyday life. It's not like the Pythagorean theorem that maybe you can forget a squared plus b squared equals c squared and get along in life. Scientific method works daily when you're taking in information and filtering it and trying to filter the BS from fact and trying to filter fact from opinion.
And for some, that's an easy thing. It's a natural thing, and scientific method is developed a natural thing. You want to come back, you want to test it, you want it peer reviewed, so to speak, and that's the thought process. And as you get older, you find yourself just naturally doing it, and then you see other people who apparently don't, and you just stand there in awe, going, What do you believe? Oh, okay. Oh my God!
As someone who taught 4, 5, and 6-year-olds at one point in life, and we were talking about this off air before we started. I weep for the fact that I see people my age and older who do not know how to stack like objects. And it's like, how did you get to be 55 years old and people gave you money your whole life and you do not know how to stack? Like, these are skills that kindergartners learn. Like, if you can't tell me basic colors and give me the ABCs and learn how to stack like objects and get along with people, you don't graduate kindergarten. That's 4 out of the 6, bro. And those are basic life skills.
If it's a mental, I don't want to use the word retardation because I never know what current word is to use. But for lack of a better term, if it's retardation, that's different. That's something I don't worry about. But some of these people who come in from a position of like authority, say, I don't know, an investigator, say a senator, say whatever, and you hear them talking, you're like, you're a senator?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Like, it's like, wow.
Who was it a few years ago that was worried about Guam tipping over?
Oh my God, that was so funny.
I rolled for days.
Floating off into the ocean and stuff.
What are we talking, Superman over here? Are we talking Lex Luthor? We're just going to put a bomb and just let California float off, and Nevada's going to be the new, coastline.
Yeah. And I used to engage flat earthers all the time. No offense, I actually have several friends who are, which amazingly enough, people don't believe it. But
I would love to have one on.
No problem. I'll bring one of my friends on. I've got two in mind already that are either flat earthers, chemtrails, / you name it. They're into all that.
Well,
one of the things I said, okay, so there's no gravity. Gravity does not exist on a flat Earth, right? Right. Okay. So it's constant acceleration, which creates the sensation of gravity. Yes, at 32 feet per second. Yes. Sure. After 360 some odd days, you know how fast you would be going. No, you'd be going the speed of light.
Oh.
And I'm like, so you have a problem, and the Earth is how long? Even in their world, the Earth is still X number of years old. So after 1 year, we're already exceeding light, which means all the energy in the universe has been sucked into this one moving object. It's just crazy. They're like, okay. But actually, I love them to death because they have made me look at things at such a different way. Right. Because I'm thinking of how to show them something, and I have to. It's like when you're, and I don't want to say they're kid-like or whatever, but I'm going to go there. It's like when you're trying to explain to a kid who looks up at the sky and he says, "Why is the sky blue at the daytime and black at night?" And you're like,
"Ozone and refraction, son."
I should have studied that long enough, a little bit longer. And so when someone says the sky is blue, I say, no, the sky is not blue. And then we start explaining, the Earth's tilted at 23 and 30 degrees. It reflects off ice crystals and so forth and so on. It doesn't happen at night. And people get that. And it's like, why, the color green, that grass is not green. It's every color but green. You're seeing the only color that it reflects.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh.
So that's fun stuff. And that's how I started thinking at an early age, because I met some people that believe some of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm interacting with them. I'm kind of scientific. I'm atheist. I got all these different things that are bad for me. But I need to engage this conversation because I love the person. Some of these people are just so awesome.
Well, but we have not only that, that's the investigator in you. You can't not want to know.
Exactly.
And
inquisitive.
I'm the same way. I will not dismiss your hypothesis or your theory. I won't. At the very least, I want to hear your points of data and see what you're talking about. Exactly. I may have a question or two, but aside from that, I want to hear your story. I want to hear and I think that's what we're missing a lot in our society, and I think that's what we're missing a lot of whenever we start looking at the case of Stephen Paddock is we get lost in minutia and we lose that gross concept of the humanity there. And
in the community, in the especially on the YouTube Las Vegas community, you'll see that once the information flow stopped coming, then people start looking around there's nothing really to talk about. So then they start talking about each other. And then the warmth of the community starts turning cold, and it's a very sad situation when people just start attacking the other person.
It turns toxic rapidly.
It does. It really does. It's really sad. But in the end, what does happen is like a shakeout, and you come out with a core group of people that are, truly, they're just like Shannon. Shannon and Andrea, that couple.
Yeah.
I have not met in my life a better person, better people. And Shannon contacts me every day, and it's just like last month. I've been going through
he texted. He was contacting me literally on the way back to my hotel room tonight, like
Yeah.
just straight up, hey man, how you been? How's it going? Haven't heard
Yep.
from you in a little while. How's life? What's going on? You know,
Yeah,
and
he's as genuine. Yeah, he is as genuine as they get.
I have a
Robin,
lot of contacts in my industry. I have very few people that I can say are my friends in this industry and actively like care about me and my
Right.
world. And to know that Shannon is out there is an amazing thing to me. To know that there are still people like Shannon out there gives me hope for our society.
Absolutely. Man, you couldn't have said it any better. I feel the same way it's a breath of fresh air. It's like faith in humanity again, faith restored, all these different things. Cause I go through my life and every, and you know, some people say I'm arrogant or I'm this or that or whatever, or I'm a jerk or I'm whatever. And it's probably because of the way I come across, I guess, when people don't know me personally, but, and I get it. I understand. But my whole life is all about I'm dedicated to helping other people. Yeah. And at some point you look around and you're like, you just wonder if you've done enough and can you do more? And then you look at your own life. It's like, it's so much easier for me to help other people than it is for me to help myself. And you start doing all this stuff and your own life is going apart and you can't help people anymore. So that's actually what this last month of mine has been. It's just been a hellhole, but I'm still hanging in there, still doing what I got to do. And now, I'm at a breaking point now where I could probably get to Vegas and probably do more, because you wonder, if you should have done this at the beginning, or is it too late to actually do something? But then you start seeing it's Vegas. It's going to have all of this all the time. And I have a skill set that I think would fit in there. Like you told me earlier, even before we came on air. And, I appreciate you saying that. It's helpful.
I explored the opportunities numerous times. Like almost every time I'm there, I try to make some kind of inroad, because I know a couple people that live there that are good friends of mine that I could probably go crash for a week or two with. And just during dead time, that's typically dead in my region, I know I'd come there and be able to get some kind of work, So it's like, hey, that's a quick, airline mileage ticket away.
There you go. Yeah. And my work comes to me daily, worldwide. I every day I get no less than 5 to 10 potential cases of mainly, a lot of it's pedophilia, or I had rape cases where, hey, it's close to the statute of limitations and I really want to find this guy, and all I have is this piece of information. And then when you find that person and you're able to bring justice to a person that otherwise wouldn't have it, but that person will never know who you are, you feel great about it. You're just like, wow, it's just like there's no better passion. And of course you don't make anything, because I do all of this work. I do volunteer. A lot of people don't believe that, but that's what I do. And but it's so satisfying knowing that you can help somebody that you'll never meet, probably might not even ever talk to on the phone. You'll have a detective call you up and say, hey, Mike, can you check on this for me and see? And then you give them the information, and then 2 weeks later you get a phone call back and the person was arrested and they're taken care of. But I'm not in law enforcement. It's not my goal to get people arrested. It's my goal to everybody get along and everything just work. But there's people that have to do that, and I put myself in that category. So I think Vegas is probably a good place for you to do that.
Well, and you do what you do because you're passionate about it. I at one point, I won't lie, I've had 200 something episodes of this show. There have been some that have been softer than others. But in the last year, I've really striven to bring my audience, number one, the topics that I have seen through my research that they are interested in, and that they've tuned into. People like you, who are providing some beautiful truth on a topic that so many people are willing to just glaze over. That should be one of the most important topics in our society right now, which is what the hell happened that night, and why did it happen?
Exactly. And why
that is the largest mass shooting in American history. and yet still we have next to no answers, and the case is closed.
Exactly. And then you have the people that say that, every weekend in Chicago we have that number of deaths and stuff. And I get
not
it.
by
I
one
understand.
person.
Yeah, exactly.
For 20 minutes on end.
Right. So but that person you can't argue that with. It's just because you already see it's already combative, and you're like, oh God, this is going to be, because I get this all the time. But you understand it, and you feel like imagine being Batman or Superman. I'm not trying to compare myself to either one, but imagine being that person, knowing that you have all of this ability and all these things, but you can only help X number of people, and we need more Batmans. We need more Batmans. And my goal,
that is not a call to action, audience. That is not a call to action. Only I can avenge the night.
But I want to do in my life is show people that anyone can do this. I mean, there's not, there's some things maybe not, but there's, for the most part, a lot of people can do this. And this is what Las Vegas has done. The Las Vegas shooting has brought out in people things that they never knew they could do. There's so many people researching this thing, and they become pseudo investigators, and they're finding stuff, and it's exciting to see people. They'll call me up, dude, look at this and let me know if what I'm seeing is real. I'm like, yeah, you got it, bro.
Hey, bro,
you found it.
Good eyes.
And it's like,
good on you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I would like to, I guess, over time, just have a following and just teach people these little tricks here and there that you learn in the trade, and do that. And
let's honestly, let's work on that, Mike. I'd be happy to work on a program with you for that, because number one, we just had Astronomers Without Borders on. And no shameless plug to them, but Astronomers Without Borders is awesome. And what most people don't realize is that, like, a great percentage, like if you had 10 astronomical findings in the last decade that were important,
right?
3 of those were made by major astronomical people. The other 7 were made by backyard people.
Bingo.
Comets are named after husbands and wives, stuff like that, because they're like, hey, I've been observing this section of the sky because it's what's available to me on the nightly. I've noticed this. And then suddenly the professionals focus their stuff and go, oh, you're right. Thanks for discovering that new meteorite. We had no idea it was there. Or asteroid, rather, not meteorite. We'd all see it because it'd be coming in. It's a meteorite. Asteroid. Things like that. And it's very, very much the same way in today's society, with everybody having a camera on them. And it just came out, like, Facebook had to squash 15 million videos of the shooting in New Zealand.
Yes, and just people were sharing it left and right, downloading it and re-uploading it. And it took on its own life. And they could not have an algorithm that knew that was happening. I mean, come on. Come on. That to me is a major failure. That's a major failure.
That's just it. We are the reporters now, folks. I've said it for years, how long until I'm going to have an FCC license to run this show on the internet. It will happen eventually. We are the media. We are the people who can get this out there. We are the people who can investigate on our own. Our time makes a difference. If you remember back in the day, SETI used to have the Nest Project, where, like, you could dedicate like a core of your computer and a certain amount of RAM to process information for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and be like part of a huge node of information going on.
Exactly.
That is the creation of the internet. That is the beautiful part of the internet, folks. That we can do things like this. That I can Skype with someone like Ramsey Dennison. I can Skype with someone like Mike Turber and bring this information to y'all who tune in weekly, who may not have been necessarily on the regular, and no fault to you, looking this information up and keeping up with it. Life happens. But you take time to listen to this show, and I'll make sure to bring you information like this every week because that's what I love.
And I think actually doing the show and showing people some tricks on how to do certain things, and we may learn from some viewers something. They might say, "Hey, look, you did that, and look how I expanded upon it, and it was able to do this." And I love learning something back from someone that either I taught something to or vice versa. And it's just absolutely an amazing feeling when that occurs, and when someone is able to do something on their own that they never thought they could do. Just watching them blossom and just the smiles and hey, look at this. I think I found something. And it's like, no, it's nothing. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you found it.
Yeah. Gee, thanks. Now I feel stupid.
And then we can scare them too, because I've got one thing I'm thinking of doing on my channel or do it on one of your shows and show people some really creepy things that go on at Google that you would probably freak out when you see it on your own phone and your own computer. I will show you how to tap into something that will blow your mind. Pretty impressive. So
let's. I'd love to have some security episodes with you where we go through stuff like that and break some things down. Sure. Like not a lot of people are aware of programs like Decentral One. Which was one of the last major launches by the madman John McAfee himself.
Enjoying his time down in Costa Rica.
That's right. Him and his ladies and his guns. He's the best. But he literally launched an app called Decentral One many years ago, folks, that if you put it on your phone, it will tell you literally deep what every single app on your device is accessing. Everything. The things beyond permissions. It's pretty wild. You'll get rid of a lot of apps on your phone, I guarantee you, where you're like, wow, like I use that app regularly and it accesses that. That's kind of creepy.
And then learning how to turn that little feature off, and then then you find out sometime down the road that it never really turns off, and then you're like, oh my God, what do I got to do to have my privacy? But there's a lot of neat little tricks that you can do. Things that are so simple that'll trip up. So if someone's bugging your room, the old saying of turning on a faucet, covering up noises. Yeah, it actually works. It actually works. Those little sleep machines you put by your bed that play the pink noise or the white noise at night that sound like the ocean. Yeah, they work. It really works.
Yeah.
So, we could have fun. Sounds good.
On that note, once again, thank you as always for coming on, Mike. The information that you share about this case goes deeper and deeper every time. I can't wait to see what comes of the FOIA request once those documents make it to you guys. I'd love you to, of course, come on and share that information at that point. Let everybody know where they can go to find out more from 5x5 News, where they can find out more about you and what you provide and do, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. As far as the videos and things I do, I don't put out like a whole lot of videos. I do some core things that I like to do, but I like to support other people and what they're doing. But 5x5 News, if you just search for that, 5x5, it's like 4x4, but 5x5 News, that's me. I'm a one-man band. I don't have like 50 people working in an office somewhere. It's just me. If you need to reach me, it's as simple as 5x5 News at protonmail.com or just MikeTurber@gmail.com. Either way, you can get a hold of me. And if you have a situation that you need a little help on that you're not getting anywhere, that's where I excel. If you have like an investigation, your private investigator can't find something for some reason or another, because they're limited. They're limited as what they can do, and the police sometimes can't. So that's where I come in and I fill that gap. And we do it relatively quickly. So if you need help, that's something I can do. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, I consult in many different fields of, marketing and sales and what have you. So I can pretty much jump around the gambit as far as different ways to help people. I just enjoy helping people.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thanks for always coming on, helping our audience break this information down, really get a chance to digest it and chew through it, because it's a ream of information. Everything that's come out about this case, it reminds me so much of whenever I work broadcast and watched the Boston bombing happen. And stopped our live broadcast, and it suddenly became an 18-hour broadcast day. And the whole windfall that happened after that, that's what really sold me on keeping up with this kind of stuff in life, was that moment.
Guys like you that actually come back, because a lot of these reporters and podcasters and so forth, they put out something and then they never come back to it. And people like you, some others that are out there, there's only a handful. And that's important, and that really, really goes a long way with me and a lot of other people that it shows you care, and
thank you,
and you're going to carry it through, and that means the world to us. It really does, and we really appreciate you doing that.
It's a disservice to the truth. It's a disservice to the facts. It's a disservice to if you're going to cover a case, cover a case, and I can't very well call out mainstream media on it if I'm going to do the same. It's kind of like my concept of, dude, if you scream at people for sitting in the right hand lane when you can turn right, don't sit in the right hand lane when you can turn right.
Exactly.
Don't be that jackhat, man. At least be willing to call yourself out. And I'm willing to call myself out all day. But most of the time I'm a follow through kind of guy. And when it's something like this, that I personally know people that were affected by it, it means something to me. There is something that has happened here that is a zeitgeist of our society and driving our society that we have just swept to the side. And that's not right. And that's not good. And we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, we need to pay attention to people and learn from these experiences, and as the little ones and the big ones. Sometimes I learn more from something really minor, something that's non-tangential to anything else. And so it's like with Ramsey and I, and we're working on the film for the documentary about Las Vegas. It gets to a point where, okay, I think things are slowing down now. Let's wrap it up and get it out there, and then boom, something else happens, or something else lands on our lap, and it's so funny because I'll call up Ramsey and I'll say, Ramsey, you sitting down? Okay, and I'll tell him that I've got this person interview, or we've got this piece of information that no one else has, or this something, like Eric Paddock, having him on there was just incredible, and we didn't know how that was going to play out, and it turns out that it's amazing. So the film's just going to be. And Ramsey is a genius behind that keyword and editing and making it make sense, and where this comes together. So yeah, that's going to be neat to see that when it finally comes out. I see bits and pieces of it, and I'm already excited about it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've seen his work previously, and we've of course talked about a lot of the precursor to what is the film, and even that was groundbreaking and astonishing. But to know what's come about now after talking with Eric, things like that, just mind numbing. And like I said earlier, myself, just my experience seeing things like Michael Hastings and his death that were just anomalous. Like, hey, here's a major reporter that just blew up driving down the streets of Los Angeles. Whatever, perfectly functional car just blows up while he's driving down the road after he tells his mom, like, hey, if something happens to me, it wasn't me. I'm reporting on something pretty huge right now, and it's going to be crazy if it drops. And days later, he's dead in the street. When you see things like that, when you see things like what's happened in Vegas, there's screaming flares in the sky. I can't not see it. I can't unsee it. Is really more like it.
I agree.
And it's really one of those, like, these are moments that should catalyze us as a society, and they're moments that should make us question the status quo and why things are happening the way they happen.
Yeah, and the people that bring those things to light, you know, myself, you, all these people, the researchers that actually get the stuff together, even them. I mean, everything, you know, when you look at it, all that comes together, and when people receive the information, and a few people get it, they're like, wow, you're really putting your life on the line. They don't really realize that sometimes that's what actually is done. If you walk into a place and you're going to cost this place millions of dollars because of your report, and you're probably going to be on the list. And like with Ramsey's case with the LVMPD, you know, every time he goes over there, I know I can just see it. I can feel it. You know, when we were at Mandalay Bay, both of us at Mandalay Bay, and I'm playing with the door that goes to the other door, so I could try to explain how the door, you know, was either pulled to the wind or the breach caused it or whatever caused it. And we're sitting there, and then there's a person on the other side, and I'm like, uh-oh. You know, and just for a split second, your mind just has all these thoughts that go through, and you don't know, is that someone coming for us? Did they figure us out? Because, you know, we don't put it under our own name and all this other stuff. It's nerve wracking. It really is.
Yeah.
But we're still here, and we're still going to keep doing it. Absolutely.
Well, and thank you guys for keeping up with that mission, for following that unction inside of you that is undeniable. That you just can't not go find out. You are compelled to go find out, to seek and to find, and it's people like you that help crack cases, help find the nuances inside of stuff that are so frequently missed, like we see all the time in documentary after documentary on so many platforms nowadays, where it's like, wow, look at that, these dudes were in jail for like 15 years and nope. You know, and even today it came out that they may have possibly actively found Jack the Ripper, that they have more DNA evidence ever pointing to a dude that they thought that it may have been years ago. So even that far down the line, cases are cracked, folks. Information comes out, new information comes out. If you keep digging, if you keep looking, never, ever, ever give up that search for knowledge. So on that note, once again, Mike, thanks for joining us. Make sure to go and Google 5x5 News, check them out, check out the great videos that Mike has released regarding the Mandalay Bay shooting, regarding the security at hotels, all that kind of stuff, security at Mandalay Bay specifically. Also, while you're online, make sure to check out the Dudes and Beer podcast, dudesandbeer.com. If you like the topics that we talked about tonight, feel free to stop on by our knowledge vault. There is a trove of information there. Everything from patents for chemtrails to patents of Nikola Tesla, declassified government documents from programs that you may have thought were conspiracy, but they were actually real. MK Ultra, all kinds of stuff all over the place. Go check it out. dudesandbeer.com/knowledge. While you were there, make sure to stop on by diamondcbd.com. That is one of our sponsors. Everything there is made 100% natural, 100% fresh from hemp itself, contains no marijuana, no THC, and is guaranteed to be made organically for you. Fantastic deals. We get 30% off with the code DUDES420 on checkout. Go check out diamondcbd.com. Code DUDES420 on checkout. Once again, Mike Turber, thank you so much for joining us as always. Look forward to having you on many, many more future episodes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right. Remember, everybody, if you can't be good at it. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams or chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.